SpaceX's Starship is the largest rocket ever built, and 2025 was, let's say, less optimal for progress. Now, SpaceX is gearing up for Starship Flight 12, and we have a first official launch window. Starship will be essential for Artemis, which is just now getting ready for a flight to the moon, but is SpaceX fast enough to deliver what NASA needs? My name is Felix, welcome to What About It, let's dive right in. Starship updates. SpaceX is wrestling a beast right now, the beast that is version 3. You can see it all around Starbase. 2 prototypes waiting in their respective bays, 2 pads in different stages of construction, and a Starship Flight 12 launch date that always seems to be next month. Now we have new information. It came directly from the chief engineer at SpaceX, Elon Musk. He posted it on January 26th. 6 weeks. It's the first statement we got from SpaceX on when we can expect a launch to happen, and it's not far from my last statement of end of February at the earliest. This would set Starship Flight 12's not earlier than date to March 9th. But is this Elon time or a realistic estimate? Let's take a closer look. We have 3 main components that need to be ready for that first version 3 flight. We need 2 fully tested prototypes to make the first version 3 full stack in history. We need a fully functional test setup to get them ready for launch, and a working pad capable of launching a version 3 Starship. Let's tackle the prototypes first. Are they ready to begin their testing campaign? In short, yes. Booster 19 has been waiting for a rollout for at least a week or 2 now. I heard this from multiple sources, and they might finally be ready to move it to the Massey test site in the coming days. We might see a rollout next week. So we can assume that Booster 19 is now fully ready for its cryo campaign. Then there's Ship 39. While Booster 19 essentially was a speedrun production to compensate for Booster 18, which lasted a single day outside its Megabay parking spot due to a CUPV failure during its first test at Massey's, Ship 39 is a slow cooker. Can you believe that it's been in production since at least March 16, 2025? That's when a LOX header tank featuring a label reading V3 LOX cone was spotted. It indicated that Ship 39 would be the first version 3 ship. That was almost a year ago. Starship Flight 8 launched 10 days before that. It gives you an excellent indicator of how much slower 2025 was than SpaceX had intended it to be. Ship 39 was very likely supposed to launch in 2025. The reason for all these delays lies in version 2. Flight 7 failed due to vibration-induced propellant leaking, Flight 8 failed due to a hardware failure in one of the center sea level Raptor engines, leading to inadvertent propellant mixing, ignition, and explosion. Ship 39 is late, not just because of the Ship 36 explosion, which subsequently ruined the test stand and necessitated a several-month repair effort. It's the result of version 2 having been a painful search for critical issues in the design. We saw these problems mainly because Starship is very unique. Even though SpaceX already has a dominant rocket in the form of Falcon 9, they chose to throw it all overboard again and develop something completely new. But then they did the same with Falcon 9 and it paid off hugely. Ship 39 has been in production for almost a year now. It should be ready for testing as soon as S39.1 completes its test parcours. As soon as they remove it from its stand, Ship 39 will be next. The big item on the list isn't a prototype rocket, it's Pad 2. Visually complete at this point, it can't be long until it's ready for Flight 12. On the 26th, we saw another detonation suppression system test, followed by a very nominal-looking deluge test. And we saw the same again on the next day with a very long deluge test again. Nothing major is missing, so is March 9th a realistic date? I'd say so. Once prototype cryo tests commence with Booster 19 and Ship 39, nothing should stand in the way of a launch. This isn't the only place where SpaceX is working on our future in space. Florida is gearing up to have its own Starship launches. And the biggest question right now is if this will still happen in 2026. Let's take a look. These images were taken by Event Dude for RGV aerial photography, and they are incredible. Top-down views and close-ups of what's happening at Pad 39A or of what's happening at Kennedy Space Center in general are very rare. They give us an opportunity to look closer, to assess the situation, and to draw those valuable conclusions we're all looking for. In short, SpaceX is further along than we all thought. What they're building at Pad 39A is exactly the same construction they've been building at Starbase's Pad 2. This is a huge advantage for them and for us. For them, it means they can build this more quickly. They've already built one after all, and the workforce can be transferred between the two to leverage the know-how they gathered during the construction of Pad 2. For us, it means that we can estimate way better. We know how long it took SpaceX to build Pad 2, so we can just go back in time and take a look at the images we have. This way we can very precisely say how long it will take them to finish the pad in Florida. If you want to see how SpaceX is doing at Starbase from the air just like Jordan does, visit redlineheli.com/Felix. $25 off for anyone using the link. The Redline helicopter team will show you the same Starbase views our photographer gets on his Starbase flights. Incredible views. SpaceX is in the process of fleshing things out. Large structures are in place. The flame trench is far along, the launch mount itself is standing, and parts are being integrated. Both booster quick disconnects are still missing. But the hoods are already on site. The growing tank farm has already received many of its pumps, reboilers, and vaporizers. Plumbing is being installed everywhere. The setup is very similar to Starbase again. The deluge system is almost complete as well. Jumping back to the tower, the housing for the Drawworks winch is still receiving lots of attention. No Drawworks motor inside yet. Heavy construction is engulfing the chopsticks. Scaffolding can be found all over the tower itself as well. Crews are all over the site working on everything at once. Typical SpaceX approach. The commodities trench is visible as well. Lots of rebar is being used for reinforcement. This will be a very sturdy construction once done. The construction process is slightly different at the Cape than at Starbase. Cladding was installed faster on the trench at Pad 2, it seems. This is the closest I could get to, July 4th, 2025. This would put Pad 2 6 months ahead of Pad 39A, and if the March 9th launch date is roughly correct, we should be 8 months away from a Starship launch at Kennedy Space Center. 8 months would put the first Starship launch in Florida in the middle of August, well within 2026 and not far out at all. This launch infrastructure is crucial. SpaceX needs a working Starship pad at Kennedy Space Center for Artemis. Not only would it be very difficult to do HLS tests with only one pad, but it would also likely be against NASA's interest. As much as I love Starbase, NASA will likely want HLS launches to go out of Kennedy Space Center. Work here needs to be fast, precise, and operational soon. Artemis, Artemis, Artemis. It's a very important topic right now, and Starship is a major part of it moving forward. If you want to help us make even better content and fly more often in a helicopter, hit the subscribe button to stay informed. Like this video if it brought you value, and become a wise supporter for those extra heli flights. Be our fuel, chat with me, and gain more insights into the topic you love. Thank you very much, you rock! It is cold, my friends, and this is a time when fashion often yields to functionality. You need to stay warm, and looks are not the most important thing. The moon offers an even harsher environment than anything nature throws at us here on Earth. Down here we accept bulky clothes because we can still move. On the moon, that trade-off nearly stopped humans from moving at all. Apollo astronauts didn't walk on the moon, they hopped. Not only because the gravity was low, but because their spacesuits barely let them bend. The hopping wasn't playful, it was a workaround. Walking normally was almost impossible. And after spending over $400 million trying to fix that problem, NASA finally made a shocking decision. In 2022, they stopped building their own spacesuits and handed the job to a private company. What followed is quietly changing what astronauts will be able to do on the moon, and why the next time humans land there, it won't look anything like Apollo. To understand why this matters, you have to understand one thing. A spacesuit isn't clothing. It's a personal spacecraft wrapped around a human body. And astronauts don't wear just one kind of suit. The simplest are worn inside spacecraft. These are called intravehicular suits. They are basically high-tech emergency gear. Light, flexible, and connected to the spacecraft for air and cooling, SpaceX's sleek black and white suits fall into this category. They exist just in case something goes wrong. But the moment an astronaut steps outside, everything changes. Extravehicular suits, the big white ones used on the space station, have to keep a human alive entirely on their own. They carry oxygen, cooling water, batteries, radios, everything you need. These suits can support an astronaut for about 8.5 hours, weigh nearly 150 kilograms, and cost around $12 million each. Wow. And they're already showing their age. Now take all of that and put it on the moon. Lunar suits don't just float in weightlessness. They have to support walking, kneeling, climbing, and lifting in gravity. They have to survive temperature swings from minus 150 to plus 130 degrees Celsius. And they have to deal with lunar dust, a powder so sharp and abrasive it behaves more like crushed glass than sand. Apollo suits were never designed for long-term surface work. They were stiff, fragile, and exhausting to use.
We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard.
Which is why Apollo astronauts developed that iconic bunny hop. It was the only way to move efficiently. Boing, boing, boing. Gene Cernan lost more than 7 kilograms during one mission simply from the effort of moving in his suit.
I was strolling on the moon one day.
By the 2010s, NASA knew this couldn't continue. They tried to modernize suits internally and failed. More than $1 billion had been spent and the suits still weren't ready. So NASA did something unusual. They stepped back. And in 2022, they handed lunar suit development to commercial companies. A little-known fact is that gamble nearly collapsed in 2024. Collins Aerospace, one of NASA's primary suit contractors, exited the program after falling behind schedule. Suddenly, the entire Artemis moon program depended on one company, Axiom Space. Their contract could grow to $3.5 billion through 2034, and if they fail, humans don't walk on the moon again. At all. Naked? No. In October 2024, Axiom revealed their flight-ready lunar suit design, and it didn't look like Apollo at all. This suit can actually move. Bearings at the shoulders, waist, hips, thighs, and ankles allow astronauts to walk normally, kneel down, stand back up, and work with precision tools. It fits 99% of body types, both male and female. A huge difference to Apollo's custom one-off suits that require dozens of backups. Even the materials are new. Axiom partnered with Prada to develop the outer layers not for fashion, but for durability, flexibility, and thermal protection. Another specialist, Oakley, built a visor system coated with 24-karat gold to block dangerous solar glare. This isn't style, it's survival. And style. Axiom suits have now logged over 700 hours of pressurized testing, including thermal vacuum trials that simulate space itself. But auditors still warn the suits may exceed weight limits or consume too much oxygen and water. The stakes are different now. For the first time since Apollo, we're not just trying to survive on another world, we're trying to work there. The next humans on the moon won't hop awkwardly across the surface. They'll walk, kneel, lift, explore. And when that happens, it won't be because rockets got bigger. It'll be because someone finally figured out how to build a suit that lets a human body do what it's always done best: move. Let's move on. Over the past few years, spaceflight has trained us to expect the impossible on schedule. To be honest, we have been spoiled. Reusable rockets, weekly launches, Mars probes, moon plans, private space stations. So when programs slip, frustration tends to hit fast. But here's the uncomfortable truth we often forget. Space is still hard and rocket science is still rocket science. But delays, painful as they feel, are often the reason missions succeed instead of fail. Some of the greatest space achievements in history were years, even decades late. The James Webb Space Telescope launched 14 years behind schedule and is now rewriting our understanding of the universe. Falcon Heavy flew 5 years late, but became one of humanity's most capable launch vehicles. So instead of asking, why are we waiting again, we should ask better questions. What are these delays actually protecting us from?
Oh no!
Are they the key to success?
Oh no!
Let's start with Rocket Lab and their new rocket, Neutron. The one with the famous Hungry Hippo fairy. On January 21st, Neutron's first stage tank failed during a hydrostatic pressure test. That's a ground test where engineers fill the tank with water and pressurize it beyond flight limits to make sure it doesn't burst in space. This one did, on the test stand. without injuries or facility damage, but the test article ruptured, and that matters even though it hurt. Neutron isn't just another rocket. It's the first large orbital launch vehicle built primarily from carbon composite materials, not mostly metal. That's cutting-edge manufacturing. Rocket Lab isn't just building a rocket, it's inventing new production methods along the way. Neutron is designed to lift 13,000 kilograms to orbit, putting Rocket Lab directly up against SpaceX's Falcon 9. That is a massive leap from their much smaller Electron rocket and a massive risk for the company. New rockets are already hard to design, and with so much innovation involved, it doesn't get any easier. Originally announced in 2021 for a 2024 launch, Neutron slipped to late 2025, then early 2026. After this failure, even that timeline looks optimistic. We will very likely see another delay, especially if the destroyed hardware was slated to fly. But here's the important part. Failure on the ground is much more acceptable than during a real launch attempt. CEO Peter Beck has been very clear. Success isn't good data from a rocket that explodes, success is reaching orbit. In an industry where rushing has destroyed entire programs, patience here isn't weakness. It's survival. Have some patience and enjoy the hungry hippo a bit later when the time is right for it to debut. I recently presented the timelines for up-and-coming space stations. Unfortunately, this is where the next major program delay popped up. Haven 1, the first commercial space station. When VAST announced it in 2023, the goal was a 2025 launch. In late 2024, that still seemed possible, but later it was pushed to no earlier than May 2025. But now reality has hit. VAST just confirmed Haven 1 won't fly until early 2027. Why? A fundamental design reset that happened a good while ago. The station was originally built around stainless steel, Starship stuff. Strong, but unfortunately also extremely difficult to manufacture at station scale. In early 2024, VAST made the hard call to scrap it entirely and switch to aluminum. That meant nothing short of starting over again. This delay matters a lot because Haven 1 isn't just a demo. It would be the first US-built space station in over 20 years and a critical bridge to life after the ISS. The International Space Station retires around 2030. That is not that far away, a mere 5 years. If commercial stations aren't ready by then, the US risks losing continuous access to low Earth orbit. Haven 1 will launch on Falcon 9, and at 14,000 kilograms, it'll be the heaviest single payload that rocket has ever carried. In this case, the stakes here aren't hype, they are continuity. Now let's talk about the series of delays that hit hardest for most. Artemis, NASA's return to the moon. Artemis 2, the first crewed mission, slipped from late 2025 to early 2026. Artemis 3, the actual lunar landing, moved from 2026 to at least 2027, likely later. The root cause traces back to Artemis 1. After Orion splashed down in 2022, engineers found something alarming. Over 100 locations where the heat shield had eroded unexpectedly. NASA faced a tough problem. Replace the heat shield, adding more than a year of delay, or change the re-entry profile to avoid that temperature range. They chose the second option. Artemis 2 Commander Reed Wiseman has said confidence is high if Orion sticks to the new trajectory. Artemis is important because this isn't just another mission. It's humanity's first return to the moon in over 50 years. It sends the first woman and first person of color beyond Earth's orbit. And it targets the lunar South Pole, where water ice could support permanent exploration, a region of the moon that has never been visited by humans before. With China targeting its own crewed lunar landing by 2030, this isn't just science anymore, it's a strategy. Let's stick with lunar missions, shall we? Astrobotic's Griffin mission 1 also slipped. This mission is now targeting mid-2026. Originally, it was supposed to carry NASA's Viper rover to search for lunar ice. Then NASA cancelled Viper despite it being fully built after cost ballooned past $600 million. Instead, Griffin will now carry Astrolab's Flip rover, a technology demonstrator testing mobility, solar power, and dust mitigation. It will still land near the lunar South Pole, and it still matters. Why? Because after Astrobotic's Peregrine lander failed in 2024, Griffin is about recovery, proving Astrobotic can land at all. Those delays weren't failures, they were the price of getting it right. Spaceflight doesn't reward speed, it rewards patience, humility, and engineering discipline, and sometimes the wait is well worth it. Welcome back to the Why Countdown, your rapid-fire look behind the curtain at everything that keeps this channel blasting off. Today I'd like to focus on our team, the unsung heroes that make Why what it is. We're starting this with Elliot, who is our 3D magician. Any animation you see that has a little Y pyramid on it was made by him. All those beautiful animations explaining what I'm babbling about, all those views inside the construction and into buildings that would normally be impossible unless you're Mr. Beast or Tim Dodd, that's him. He started on our team years ago. Our patrons and channel members get regular updates from him. He is busy working with us full time, and without him, a lot of Y magic would be lost. If you want to make him smile, say hi in the comments, I'll let him know. Thank you so much for watching, thanks for being our rocket fuel, we're all in this mission together. And that's it for today. Smash the like button, subscribe for more. This is what fuels the algorithm, and this is how you can help us for free. Check out our epic shirts in your favorite Space Nerd store. Our brand new Raptor emblem design and countless others are there for you to explore. Click the card or the US or worldwide link in the description. And if you want to know how SpaceX managed to build Raptor 3, the new Starship powerhouse, and what makes it special, watch this video next to continue your journey. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again in the next episode. Bam!